Well, hello everyone. This is David coming to you for new worship for people that like to preppers and words of wisdom, mental truths. Sometimes the things that we do is called a cumulative effect. Let me explain to you what I mean. Doctors will tell you that it's not one thing that causes cancer, but a cumulative effect of things that cause cancer. There's not one thing that causes a person to lose grip of reality, but several things. It's not one thing that causes the knee, hip, finger, or limbs to break and feel pain and stuff. It's always a cumulative of things being brought together to create this. I call it the chaos theory because we all live by that. We live by the rule of chaos. We have to have disorder in order to have order. It's kind of funny because a lot of the scientific world, and I call that another type of religion belief because what they do is they worship and preach to a different type of deity. I do the same thing, but my deity is based upon what I know as being the one and only. There is none other above him, none other below him that could ever equal to the light of what I worship is any less than what you worship as God, as Allah. Now, yes, I've had mental breakdowns. I have a lots of them. I've had a lots of them in my life. And I had to take time to really concentrate and get to know what was going on in my head. I mean, when you tell people that you're hearing 1,000 different voices, the first question they ask, well, what are they saying? It's not about what they're saying, it's about what's happening in their head. It's about the confusion and the cumulative effect of all those voices talking to you. You don't know which one to listen to. There's so many of them. How do you distinguish one from the other? And then you have these personality swings going from one to the other. It's all about the cumulative effect. And this cumulative effect dictates what's going to happen in your life later on. Now, I invited the peppers here because there is a cumulative effect that's happening right now. And the cumulative effect is that there's lots of mistrust with everything and everybody within the world. From your doctors to your lawyers to your mayors to your governors to your councilmen to the um, congressman to your president to the nations and all like that. There's so much mistrust. And this could be seen coming a long time ago. All you have to do is look at how many people actually vote. And when they say that there is something like, uh, I think the last number that I heard that there was something like 3 point something billion people living in America. That's a lots of people living in America. And out of all of them, we may have had maybe 40, 50, 60 million vote. That's a small percentage to the billions. Very small. And yet we let that very small percentage do the voting and dictate to us what our life's going to be like. It becomes a cumulative effect. But the cumulative effect isn't in where the people are voting, it's in where the people are not voting. There comes a cumulative effect. Remember, there's always up and down, left, right, 360 degrees. In our lives, we can walk backward, but in time, we can't go backwards. We can only go forward. But the forward motion can be 180 degrees in any directions that we go. But that's part of our life, the chaos that's ruling our life where we're living. This is all about the cumulative effect. Let me tell you how this goes. Remember, I'm saying there's that. That's 180 degrees in which we can go. And that's because of where we're living and part of the chaos theory. I like to call it the chaos rule, but it's a theory, it's a principle and conjecture that I put together for that. That's all fine and well. But I've also looked at everything else that I look at, bring in as a cumulative effect. Now, I call it my chaos theory and rule because it's like the ant in an anthill. They're running around doing so many things, and we ourselves cannot perceive what they're doing. But yet they wind up building their homes, the tunnels, and everything underneath there, building the mounds coming up, or deciding to march off to go to another location because so many come up. Of them has multiplied till they need to divide and go to different places. It's all chaos to us. But then again, there's so much that is happening in the world till we see it as chaos. Called this country, that country, all doing something different. But yet it's working for where they're at and what's going on. And even though we ourselves can't recognize it as order, to them they can. Just like we can't recognize what's going on with the ants. It's disorder to us, chaos. That's the chaos theory. From out of everybody doing something totally different, the cumulative effect, there becomes a little order and directions in our life. But what happens when nobody is really interested in going any directions anymore? You see that with those that actually vote compared to those who don't. Those who don't, to them, it's all going to stay the same. It's going to build up to a point to where everything's going to collapse anyway, and everything has to start over. That's the reason why it's good for preppers, because preppers, they believe at some point everything's going to change, and if you're not prepared, you're going to be left behind or caught with lots of trouble. With me, I prep. But the way I prep is not to prep with guns and bug out and places like that. I learned to prep by learning to trust in that I know is greater than all that there is in the world. Another one of the cumulative effects that we're living in is not just chaos theory, but that of time. Time itself can only go one direction forward from point A to point B. It doesn't matter if it makes a 360 circle, as long as that circle is moving forward. But even with that circle, you're just going from point A to point B and starting over again. It just winds up going on and on. A circle looks more like a spiral than it is a circle because it's moving forward. It may not be in where you recognize it, but nonetheless, it is moving that way. Well, it becomes more of a helix and an inclined plane around a central axis than it does anything else. And that central axis is forward progress. You know, sometimes I kind of get tickled at all the things that I see. And one of the things that I see abundantly above all that where we're living right now is the darkness. Now, in the Bible, Buddha, the Quran, they all talk about death and the shadow and the darkness there is. But do they really realize that what they're talking about is all the space and darkness there is? They found a series of galaxies far, far away that has no black hole in it. Is it that we're so far away we can't get close enough to see it yet? Or it too, once we get to see it closer, we will find a black hole in that. But they say a black hole is so dense and so thick and so strong in gravitational pull that not even light can escape. Well, imagine just the opposite of that black hole, a white hole, a hole that's not black, but pure light. And in that purity of light, there is order, one rule, one way. It's not a matter of going forward anymore or having 180 degrees, but in that point of light, there is no such thing as time. So you have 360-degree movement in every direction, forward, back, side, up, doesn't matter. The moment of angular movement is sustained in that light. It doesn't matter. It never did, never will. All that matters is that all that we are first started with that light from that point. How do you know that? Because everybody is gravitating and pulling to that one point. Cumulative effect. Everything we do brings us closer to that point. Now, lots of people, especially with religions and everything, and the way scientists have problems with this, that they know a lot of these tales about a deity, a god, Allah, Buddha, and all these other things got started because of what they called campfire legends, stories that was passed around from person to person in these small gatherings, small units. I call them families, but families means familiar living. It doesn't mean just being born from one to another. That a mother has a child and the child has all, and that's all part of a family. Well, the family used to be just a single unit of people moving and working together for the good of all. And these families would take and they would pass these tales around. And they would do it over and over until they get to the point where people learn how to mark these tales down because it's like any other story. It's sort of like the story of, and I'm going to go back and refer to Janie Amal, the clan of the Cave Bear, where it started off with a very simple concept. What happens if there was two type a societal type of people that was brought together through whatever means and watched that one grow up in a harsh, prejudiced place and way. Either way, that was the story of Jane Amal, and she brought it all together. But what started off as a simple concept blew up to be a long, many years of research and digging in order to get the story out. The same thing happened with these family units telling these stories, all from different parts of the earth. Now, they're telling their tales, but they learn to write them down. Which one comes first, the Far East or the Far West? At the time, it wasn't America, it was just Far East, Far West. But yet, I'm thinking about America, so that's another type of story. But it became a cumulative effect that there was so much still they had to get order to it. So they found a way to make mark figures, or what I call characters, to convey what these stories were. But that doesn't take away from the truth and reality. The truth and reality of things is that in our life, where we're living, there's a cumulative effect of chaos and disorder. It gets to a point, like any storybook, it gets to a point and it needs to fall back down so we can start over. Ever hear the thing about repeating time? How time kind of repeats itself? It does over and over. And it's like the tale of the Dark Ages. Well, that's when the fall of all society and only the strongest could rule, and it took a long time before kings and emperors and pharaohs and all could bring order back into a society to get to working together in a functional way. Until then, there was a lots of people killing, suffering, and tortures and things going on. And it's all about a cumulative effect. Now, in different societies, they all talk about how things come together and they create an effect that kind of separates everything else from everybody else. War of religions, war of fruitation, war of governments, war of race, the war of whatever. Just whatever they're picking out to make a war, that's what's going on. And every religious article talks about wars and rumors of wars. But rumors are just back talking, people talking back and forth here and there. But nonetheless, it is a talk and rumors of talk about war. Wars doesn't mean always big armies fighting. Sometimes it's about the little people fighting. Who are these little people fighting? Remember, there's just so many voted and so many didn't. Those that didn't are the ones fighting. But they're the ones saying, I'm not going to participate in this stupidity that you're going on because I see it as that. And if I can, why should I even jump in and say anything? What I say don't make any difference anymore. And thus comes the depression and all the other things. It's all about cumulative effect, people. Now I told you, and I'll state it again emphatically. I hear God or that above me talking to me. And when I say I'm talking, I'm not talking about uh, something that I'm thinking and all like this and it's happening. I'm talking about figuratively talking. Now, this has been happening ever since there was a first footstep upon the earth by man. And it's been going on and on. And it did for the longest time until people got together and started saying, well, this doesn't sound right, so you just crazy. What he's saying doesn't make any difference. It's just crazy. And we get to use that one word crazy. And we use that to explain away things that we do not have any concept or vision for. That's crazy. I hear God in my voice, you think it's crazy. Only because you have gone so long without listening to God talking to you till you cannot perceive that God is talking. Lots of people say, well, if it's talking to you, tell me what it's saying. I can't tell you what it's saying because that's between me and that I consider higher than all. Higher than what you call your God, higher than what you call your Allah, higher than what you call your Buddha, wiser than all and smarter than all and more powerful than all that you can say or think. That's who I worship. Well, what sex is it? I don't know. But to think of it, form of sex, male or female, is to take that which I believe is above anything that I can ask or see or think and bring it down to my level. No, I can't do that. I should never even try to do that. But so many of you do that because you want something that you can touch, feel, and brace yourself in your world that you're in right now. But your world that you're in right now is about to collapse. Then what? In 200 years, your children will not know how to read or write. In 200 years, the doctors that you see now working around you will be no more because the children will have moved on. You think that technology will move up and up and up, but there's a limit to everything. I talked about that. There is a number where you grow so far and then it just drops. There is a number. Do not fool yourself. And I'm talking 100 years, 200 years, maybe 300 years. But there will come a time when your children will not know the read and write. There will come a time when your children will only know the basic of all maths. And there'll come a time when your children would not know how to pass on the knowledge of what they're hearing in their head anymore because you have taken away that chance for them to really listen to that which is above and above all that we can ask or think. It's called a cumulative effect. It's going to happen. Now, many people's going to laugh at that. Say, no, it's not. Kids are just going to get smarter. Yes, they're going to get smarter. But for how much longer? They're going to keep on progressing to where they can reach outer space. True. But for how much longer? It all ends at some point. And it's easy to say 100, 200 years from now. I remember in my time of going through high school, the teachers told us that right now you will learn more in school than any of your children will ever, because the cumulative effect of all the knowledge that children have to learn between first grade or primary school all the way through the 12th and then to the abundance of college and universities they need to go to, it's going to be so vast till they are not going to be able to obtain it all. Even now, even with our computers, with what we're using here and going out, there is a limit. Just ask Google, ask Wikipedia, ask Facebook. How many more servers they have to install each and every day just to keep up with the amount of information coming across the internet. Just think about it. We do a storage of trillibytes. We think about our speed that we're doing things on in gigabytes. Well, what they're having to work with, all these super companies and all like that, it's a trillibyte, but mega trillibyte, mega gigabyte. The internet costs so much. Our TVs cost so much. Cable, free Wi-Fi, and all like that. What's going to happen when it does become more free? Is a whole world that's going to be inundated with so much information till they cannot perceive the truth of everything? The same thing. It's going to build to a peak, and you're going to be left holding what you originally had to begin with. What was that you had to begin with? The same thing in those family units. They only had that which was talking and guiding them from the beginning. That's all they had. That's all they needed. They believed, they trusted. Others come along and said, okay, this is that, and that is it. This God, this Allah, this Buddha, this all this other stuff. Scientists come around saying, this is the way it is, that's the way it is. And then you find out that they're just another religion too, pushing their faith onto everybody else in the world. When it comes down to the simple fact that what we came from has always been there guiding us, and all we had to do was listen. You don't listen anymore. All you people prepping, get ready. Yes, the world's going to end, collapse, or something's going to happen to it, and it's going to happen real fast. What you might think as a few minutes, few weeks, whatever. No, look how fast the society and things happen with this COVID thing, a virus that came out. We're looking for where did it come out, but I'm not looking at where it come out. I have my conjectures of ideas what happened, but the biggest thing I'm thinking about, what's next? What's next? We're thinking about the Delta variants that's happening to it. It's more contagious. More people are dying from it. Well, the percentage rate between the people getting it and people dying is less of a percentage rate than those of Americans voting to those that are not voting. There's more people and children dying from auto accidents and hit and runs and untold gun violence than there is from the COVID. You're just not seeing it. I am, because I'm looking at a cumulative effect. That's why these preppers, they think they're smart. But the truth is, all your guns not going to protect you. What's going to protect you is your wisdom. It's how to lay down your guns. And when somebody come in to want what you got, give them to them. Because with your knowledge, you'll be able to get and create more. So what they get in the beginning, they can get again. It's like the rich people. They take and they build these big houses and all. Got to have all these people to help them take care of it. And all of a sudden, the people that's taking care of it can't afford to go to work for you because they're not making enough money to provide for their own family. And so it is better because the government will pay them to stay at home and do nothing. Have you seen that happen lately? I just brought that out because that's part of the cumulative effect. This is David with New Worship. I'm going to end this now. And I know not many people really pay attention to it. And I do this more for prosperity than I do for anything else. Because there's going to come a time when each and every one of you will ask, where did we go wrong? And I hope they have a chance to see this. Anyway, y'all have a blessed day. Stay COVID safe. And may that which is greater than all guide you in everything you say and do. Bye.